Hello and welcome to this revision class on inverse function. We talked about this inverse function in our last lesson and we gave examples. We defined what it means with the examples. So today is going to be a revision class on that. So let's look at this example. If we have an expression like x maps to x, or g is a function, g a function of x where x maps to x raised to the power 3 plus 3. Here, if we want to look for the inverse function of this function, that is f g inverse solution, I say that the first thing to do is to make x the subject of the formula, because in the function given to you, the f of x is equal to y. And so if you are looking for the inverse of it, then you transform it such that x becomes the subject of the formula. So we go back to the expression given to us, to the function, which is x raised to the power 3 plus 3. So what it means is that y is equal to x raised to the power 3 plus 3. Of course, that is f of x. Okay, f of x is equal to y, and the y is equal to x raised to the power 3 plus 3. Now making x the subject of the formula, we are going to take 3 to the other side of the equation. From y equal to x raised to the power 3 plus 3, we can say that x raised to the power 3 is equal to y minus 3. Remember, we are looking for x, not x raised to the power 3. What we have there is x raised to the power 3. So we clear the cube roots. X is equal to cube root of y minus 3. Cube root of y minus 3. Now this is equal to f of y. We have changed f of x to f of y. To find an inverse of a function, you transform the f of x to f of y. And what it means is that if f of x is equal to y, then x is equal to f of y. Now this thing we have here, which is x, is f of y. But we are looking for the inverse function of x. Inverse function of x, that is inverse of f of x. So inverse of f of x is going to be if this one is inverse of f of y, then inverse of f of x is going to be okay. So what I did here is that I just replaced the y in the f of y by x. So if you are transforming back from f of y to f of x, wherever you see x, you change it to y. And if you are transforming from f of y to f of x, wherever you see y, you change it to x. And if you are transforming from f of x to f of y, wherever you see x, you change it to y. So you just take the reciprocal of whatever you have there. In f of y, which is this one, we have cube root of y minus 3. So if you're now looking for inverse function of f of x, the y that is here, because this is x, we now change this y to x to get the inverse function of f of x. And that is what we have in this side. So inverse function of f of x is equal to cube root of x minus 3. We just removed y and put x. So this becomes the final answer. So this is how to change the normal function there to the inverse of it, to find the inverse function of x raised to power 3 plus 3. This is the answer. Now I want to give you one example, and this example, we are going to find the f of a number when we have gotten the inverse function of the expression. So assuming that it is this function that we just solved, we've gotten the inverse function of it. They can tell us to find the inverse function of 5. That is the inverse function when x is equal to 5. And just like I taught you in the last lesson, in our previous lessons, it's all about substitution. When you have your expression, your normal function, you put the value that is given to you into the expression and you solve to get your final answer. So assuming we are looking for f of 5, so we use 5 to substitute for x in the expression. That means that wherever we see x, we use 5 to replace it, and then we solve to get our final answer. Now let's look at this example. So here, the f of x is equal to x raised to power 2 minus 4. And we are to find the inverse function of x when x is equal to 5. that is inverse function of 5. Now we take the same method. We follow the same method we used to solve the previous example. What we are given in the function is f of x, and f of x is equal to y. So we now say that y is equal to the expression given to us. We replace f of x by y and equate it to the expression given to us. So it means that y is equal to x raised to power 2 minus 4. That's the first step. Now step 2 is to make the x the subject of the formula, to transform the expression and get x as the subject of the formula. So we are moving minus 4 to stay with y. Now we have x raised to power minus 2 is equal to y plus 4. Not minus 2. Sorry. This is 2. X raised to power 2 is equal to y plus 4. Now we make x the subject of the formula. What we have here is x raised to power 2, not x. So we must make sure that x stays alone, not x raised to power 2. To make x alone to stay alone, we find the square root of y plus 4. So here now, x is now staying alone. X is equal to square root of y plus 4. Now with this, we say that this x is equal to f of y. Remember that f of x is equal to y. If f of x is equal to y, it means that x is equal to f of y. So we now say that our f of y is equal to square root of y plus 4. Now remember that we are not, this is inverse function of f of y. Now remember that we are not looking for inverse function of f of y. We are looking for inverse function of f of x. So we change f of y to f of x. How do we do that? By replacing every y in the expression with x, which means that anywhere we see y in the expression, we replace it with x. That we change the f of y to f of x. So our inverse function of f of x is equal to x plus 4. X plus 4. Now we have this. We are asked to use this function to find the f of 5. That is the value when x is equal to 5. Now f inverse of 5 is equal to f inverse of 5 is equal to any place we see x in this expression, we replace it with 5. That is now 5 plus 4. So it becomes that f inverse of 5 is equal to root 9, and root 9 is equal to 3. Root 9 is equal to 3. Of course, you know that the root of any number is positive and negative of that value. So root 9 is not just 3. It is either positive 3 or negative 3. You must always put it. So we have positive or negative 3. Why is it so? If you say minus 3 times minus 3, it will give you 9. And if you say plus 3 times plus 3, it will give you 9. So root 9 is both plus 3 and minus 3. So you must leave your final answer as plus and minus 3. This is the answer. So in your exam, you may see a question that asks you to find the inverse function of a number and not an x. So this is how to do that, and I believe this is very simple. Thank you.